Hey Ryan, third musical in the last 10 days for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe not for you. And actually it was the third one in 7 days that I saw. Cyrano with Peter Dinklage as the titular swashbuckling hero. And Haley Bennett as Roxanne. Kelvin Harrison as Christian, her love at first sight crush. And I don't want to forget until late, so I'll mention him now. Ben Mendelsohn is our villain. So, Ben Mendelsohn is just a really great villain. This film is going to hit theaters on December 31st. It is a musical based on a stage production.
Yes. The music is done by the band The National.
The National.
The National, who's kind of an indie rock band who does a lot of songs about loss and yearning. So they kind of
that seems apropos.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, let's okay. So it's a musical. We've already established Mark's record on musical. This will be the third one. I'm more on I loved Tick Tick Boom, which was the first. West Side Story was the second, which I was not quite as enamored by. And now we have Cyrano, another, I'm going to say modern musical, as opposed to your classic musical, which that's more West Side Story in. I think I think my thing is that I'm not a fan of classic musicals, but I tend to be a little more into modern musicals.
Okay.
So Cyrano
is most certainly a more modern.
It's definitely a more modern musical, but classic story. So it's not like they just made up a story whole cloth and made a musical out of it, like Tick Tick Boom. So the classic story, of unrequited love, if you will, or unacknowledged love.
Yes. Well, and if the story is historically about a guy with a very large nose.
Yes. Traditionally.
Which is probably so it's a musical, and that's obviously a little different, but the fact that they've taken away, because usually it's in the past it's been an actor with this prosthetic on, that you knew that they could just take off and walk away from once they got off the stage, and what makes this one interesting is Peter can't grow taller when he walks off the stage. So it's his infirmity as it is stays with him. And so that's one of the things that I thought was, and I know that I got to talk to a lot of the cast and director on this one, and that was one of the things that they really wanted to emphasize, was that this wasn't a guy in a prosthetic nose. This was a person who couldn't suddenly just change,
and someone who you could see as seeing themselves as unworthy.
Sure.
Whether you agree with them or not, you can see that performance.
You understand
where they're coming from.
Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting thing in that Cyrano is very successful in various aspects of his life. So this isn't, necessarily about a failure. He's
not some loser.
Yeah, he's actually a very successful individual in very aspects of his life. It just comes to, in this one situation where women are an issue.
Well, and that's really what's weird, because he's a successful and respected soldier. He's a poet.
Yes.
People genuinely like him unless they don't.
Yeah.
And mostly that's because he is brutally honest.
Well,
And some people don't like that.
and this may sound strange, but he's also intimidating.
Yes.
He is a presence, and so, if he sees through you, if he sees you as a con or he sees you as a phony, um, he will
let you
go
know.
after you. Yeah,
he'll let everyone know.
Yes. So
normally in public in the most excruciating way possible.
But there's no denying that this, obviously this guy has overcome a lot to get to the position where he is when the film starts.
Yep.
Because I had a lot of fun. The swashbuckling that you referenced, it's kind of unusual to see. He's even because I don't remember him really doing anything like that in in the Game of Thrones.
No.
Yeah,
he was a terrible fighter.
And this one, it's like he's out there and he's
dueling with a guy on a stage.
Yeah,
and it's yeah,
but it doesn't feel forced or it doesn't feel unnatural. It actually feels like here is a person who has not let any thing get in his way in certain aspects of his life, but then he has these major hangups in others. So I like that dynamic that they kind of really played with in this.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with the Cyrano story, that's what we have. Let's talk about the musical aspect of it. Everyone does their own singing.
Yeah.
Including Dinklage.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Because I know I heard some other critics at the screening I was at. Sure. How did you feel about the musical aspects?
Well, this? I mean, it's not a hook driven. I think maybe if you watch it a few times, there may be something that kind of eventually works its way into you. But I do think that it isn't traditional. It isn't what I think the music's fine, but I don't know that the music's outstanding, or I don't know if the music's going to appeal to people who want something more traditional.
Okay, so let's talk about the polar opposite of that then, just so people kind of understand what we're talking about. The Greatest Showman, for example.
Sure.
When we reviewed that, and if you want to go listen, you can hear us talk about that. I said it was an hour and 45-minute commercial for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
That is how I described that movie. That is because the songs are good and catchy and poppy, but I didn't think the movie was that good. One of the other critics, and I don't name other critics when I talk about what they've said, was of the opinion that a musical, they like to have an earworm coming out. And I said, coming out of this, I was on the opposite side. I was like, I was glad that I didn't have one song stuck in my head. So the songs worked through the movie and I didn't lose, they didn't override the story. I was never worried about tapping my foot. After a song was over, I was, the songs came in at natural parts of the story and moved us along. And then we got to the next, bit of exposition and we got to another song, but the music didn't overpower the story. And I liked that. So I wound up on the other side. So I don't know how you felt not having that earworm.
Sure. I think my general feeling about the film was initially I wasn't sure how it was going to work as a musical. And looking back, I don't know why it wouldn't. It's all about poetry and love, and there's nothing that screams you can't be a musical. I think it was just more that it was something I never considered. And I think that most of the time it works really quite well. There are some moments that don't work nearly as well. And I think that keeps it from being transcending. I don't know that this is going to be something that will completely transcend the genre.
Oh no, this isn't going to redefine the musical going forward.
Which is kind of, and which and the unfortunate thing is it kind of, that's, I mean, it's not Tick Tick Boom. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Tick Tick Boom, I think it's something that anyone can go and watch and enjoy. This one, I think you're gonna. I don't know that if you're a huge musical fan that it's necessarily going to work for you, and I don't know if you're a Cyrano a fan of that story if it's going to work for you. It worked mostly for me, but it's not done in such a way that it's a guarantee, I guess is what I'm
right.
It's hard to know exactly who to recommend this to, because it's not a traditional musical, and it's not a traditional the Cyrano tale is told in a traditional way either.
Right. The Venn diagram on this is all over the place.
Yes, exactly.
So,
but did I like it? Yeah, I did, and I like a lot of the things that they did in it, and I liked a lot of the choices that were made. Joe Wright is someone who makes movies that even he grew up with a theater background, so he loves the theater, and you can tell that if you've seen his stuff. But the one thing that's kind of different about him is he loves theater, but he still makes movies.
Right.
Like, you're not confused. Like, this doesn't feel like, oh, well, this should have been a play, even though it was. He's very much made a movie.
Right.
The way the camera moves, the way that the scenery is. I mean, this in contrast to we were just talking about Macbeth. This in contrast is very colorful, very full of life, very most of the time. There's some times where it isn't as much, but it's a very cinematic experience, even though it's based on a play. I mean,
yeah.
But he has. It doesn't feel like a play, and that's not always easy to do. And that's one thing I really appreciated about this film, is that it doesn't forget that it's a movie.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So yeah, there's not a lot to talk about. Like I said, the singing is mostly, nobody's over singing themselves. I don't think anybody's trying to do too much. Which again, so there's no huge bombastic numbers. Peter Dinklage is, someone said he's not really a singer, and it's like, yeah, but they gave him what he could sing.
Well, and he's not, but that's almost part of the character as well. I mean, and that might sound strange, but this is a man who writes wonderful poetry, but doesn't really know how to use that to his advantage, I guess. Although, I mean, a lot of people come to him for advice and things, but as far as romance and whatnot goes, he's an amateur at some of that stuff. And I kind of like the roughness of it, because they're singing live. This isn't, West Side Story was, and In the Heights, as well, where there's studio productions. They may be singing on set, but what you're hearing is
the studio stuff.
It's from the studio, whereas this has the more rough feel. They did this with Les Mis a few years ago, with varied success on that. But I think I think it works in this one.
I do too. Can I Dinklage, man, if you take the singing out of this, his performance as Cyrano is just really, really good. And I hope
Yeah,
people
well,
don't overlook that because it's a musical.
well, and I mean, I would say you can keep the singing in there, and it's still really,
Well,
really good.
yeah, but I mean, and that's kind of the point I'm making. It's like I don't want people to forget the rest of his performance
Sure.
because it's stuck in a musical. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
really
yes.
good. I mean, you feel his pain, you feel his angst, all of the things that he is feeling and can't express to Roxanne.
Yeah, sure. And you feel his wit, and you feel his yeah. No, I think it's great casting. I think, first of all, because I like him as an actor. Second of all, obviously his physical attributes um, give that, give an element to the story that wasn't necessarily there before. And it actually feels more natural, um, than the nose and whatnot. It makes the original text seem a little too silly now. It's like we've gotten the kind of the refined, better version here, as far as that goes. But yeah, he's that opening scene is great.
Oh yeah, in the theater.
Yeah, in the theater, he really is a great actor, and you see that in many times throughout the film.
Yeah.
And like when they have the fight scene choreography, at no point do you think, he's just kind of half doing that, or they're letting him win, or I mean, there's this, he's out there and he's doing it, and it's convincing, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Like I said, so I just I hope people. I mean, because literally I think it's one of the best performances of the year, and like I said, I hope it doesn't get lost because it's a musical, and because it's not West Side Story, and you know what I mean, and it's not Macbeth. I don't want it to get lost in all of these other things. Well, because I mean, really think that would be a shame.
Well, and I think, there were a lot of risks that were taken, in making this. This is to give a little background. They workshopped this play for a couple of years. This has been something that they worked on over, for a while. And so this isn't something that just kind of came together overnight, or this is something that's been years and years of workshopping and whatnot, and that probably I'm not sure how this film got made, in the sense that it is a little more experimental, it is a little more dangerous, it was done during COVID, it was in a strange way, it's kind of a miracle baby. Like, how did this happen? And not in a bad way, but yeah, I mean, it just, okay, the stars aligned and it happened. So I think it's an interesting film, and I think there's a lot to like in it. I don't know how much attention it will get. I don't know what kind of support it's gonna. I don't know. It's weird because you almost have to say, well, yeah, it's Cyrano, but no, it's good.
Like, but it's good.
But it's good. Like, there's a sense of needing to add, that extra. No, you should see it. It's. I know in your head you're thinking, I don't know if this is going to work, but mostly it does. Really, So maybe that's where critics come in on this one. Is it's up to us to
let people know.
Well, yeah, direct people towards it, because, guys, it's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
I mean,
and I hate musicals.
And he hates musicals.
So that's what else can I say? Yeah, it is. It is. It's a really, it's a good telling of Cyrano with the change to, Cyrano's attributes. But, but again, I liked it because the music didn't it's not about the music. And like I said, some musical fans might hate it because it's not about the music.
Yeah.
It is about the words,
Yeah.
but it is not about the music. And there is a
not
difference.
in I mean not in a real showy way anyway.
Right. So yeah, but I would definitely, I'll definitely be pushing this one on people. So yeah, but it comes out New Year's Eve. It's a date movie.
It is. Actually,
take your significant other to an early showing of Cyrano, and then go to your New Year's Eve party. And that's a full night right there. I like that. That's a good idea. Maybe we'll do that at our house. So yeah, there we're both a solid recommend on Cyrano. Again, opens on New Year's Eve, so check it out. Again, we have got just a fistful of films yet to talk about. A couple more to watch before Christmas and the end of the year lull, before we roll back into 2022. Season 7 of the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast starts in January. That's just nuts, is what that is. But we're glad you're listening, because we like to talk about movies. But we will be back with all of those films, all of them, for you to hear us blather on about. So, but until we do, enjoy this holiday season. Associate with your friends and family. Be nice. Be safe. And until we talk to you again, I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we will talk to you all later.